If you buy enough cheap tech from overseas, you're almost guaranteed to run into some quality control issues at one point or another. I review a lot of cameras here, and I've gotten pretty lucky so far. Every camera that I've had so far has at least been usable, except for the Eken H6S. Earlier in the year, I started reviewing the Eken H8 Pro, and I never finished that camera because I also ran into some quality control issues with it. Not that it was freezing and unusable like this camera, it's just that I found the lens would drift out of focus after it started to get hot, and that made the video, well, practically unusable. Now, I understand it's important to set reasonable expectations of quality for the price, but these cameras are around $100, and I've had dozens of other cameras that haven't had any issues whatsoever, whereas I've had 2 Ekens in the last year that have had focus issues and other quality control issues. So it's getting harder for me to recommend Eken at this point. Since the H6S is more or less a dud, I'm going to do a quick teardown video and show you how to fix the focus on your camera. And be forewarned, it's not for the faint of heart. Eken glues the lens inside of this camera down with a resin adhesive, and that makes it very difficult to refocus. The vast majority of these cameras come apart by pulling off the front cover, and that's not the case with the H6S. With the H6S, it requires a little bit of heat on the back screen and then a suction cup to pull the screen off because it's held in place with adhesive. Once you have removed the LCD panel, there are 6 screws holding down a plastic cover. Remove those 6 screws and put them off to the side where you won't lose them. You'll need them for reassembly. Underneath that plastic panel are the 4 screws that hold down the front cover. Remove those 4 screws and then the front panel just pops off. Do note there are a couple cables attached to the front panel that can get damaged, so do be careful when you're pulling it off. Unlike me, my camera's already broken, so it doesn't matter. Next up, you'll have to use some heat to remove the horrible plastic resin that surrounds the lens. It smells deliciously toxic, so my recommendation is to do this somewhere where you have lots of ventilation. The good news is that you don't have to remove all of that plastic. Once you've removed enough of it, being careful not to hit any of the other components on the circuit board, take some pliers and a soft cloth, put the soft cloth around the lens, and then break the lens free of the remaining plastic with the pliers. Once you've done this, you can focus your camera using the HDMI output and your TV. I do recommend using the biggest screen possible in order to get the sharpest focus, and use a focus distance of about 6 to 10 feet away from you. Once the lens is refocused, it's a simple matter of reversing the steps that you've taken. So first of all, glue the lens in place just to make sure that the focus doesn't shift. Then snap the front cover on, being careful of the LCD screen. Also, if you haven't already, make sure that you've taken off all fingerprints from the LCD screen so they don't show through the front. Next, return the screws that held the front cover in place back to where they were located, put the little plastic plate down, screw that in place, put the screen down, and then snap it all back together. So, refocusing is only something I recommend doing as a last resort. For example, if you can't send your camera back to Amazon, something like that. This process can cause irreversible damage to your camera if you're not careful, and every camera is slightly different, so it's important to note that you may just be able to pull off the front screen on some of these. I hope this helped you learn a little bit more about how to refocus these cameras. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.